Hollywood films have shaped how stories are told and whose stories are seen. However, Hollywood's influence would cause significant issues regarding representation to people of color in the past, such as with Black Americans. Questions would remain about the kinds of roles they are given, the stories they are allowed to tell, and maybe even who holds creative control behind the camera. How are Black Americans represented by Hollywood films, and how does it reflect the level of creativity control, opportunity, and acknowledgement given to Black actors and filmmakers? In order to explore this question, I spoke with these individuals in order to help understand how Hollywood shapes opportunity, recognition, and creativity for Black Americans.
Hello, I'm Caleb.
How often would you say that Black actors are given the same opportunities in having main roles in Hollywood films as white actors?
If you look on the time, especially I would say like right now, they are given a lot of the same opportunities, if not more. I feel like it depends on the what time you're looking at it. Like let's say the '80s, which was definitely predominantly more white than people of color, but I feel now they are given the same, if not more, opportunities.
I feel like I still see more white actors in most films than black actors. I feel like the balance now though is definitely, getting there. Like we are seeing and more black actors, especially in like let's say like A24 films and all that where they are promoting more, like mixed races.
According to Chapter 2 of Hollywood's Colorblind Racism in pages 53 and 54, Hollywood would blame the exclusion of actors of color on a lack of skill and excellence, but would also limit actors of color to stereotype roles instead, that would prevent them from consideration for lead roles. When black actors would get the chance of being casted, what types of roles or even storylines would you say you most often see black actors play?
I feel like now, I feel like a lot of the storylines are kind of the same, um, just kind of different retellings of them. Um, as far as roles go, um, I feel like it's a very diverse. I see a lot of the same roles, different roles um, regarding people of color. Um, so that's kind of how I view that.
I see them um as more of like comedic roles, but like I said before with A24, we're seeing them more as like main characters in horror movies now. And but the stereotype of horror movies where the black person dies first for some reason.
Do you think these patterns for black actors influence like stereotypes and representation in Hollywood? And if so, how?
I feel um, like maybe with story writing, there are certain stereotypes within story writing. I feel like Hollywood does its best to try to capture culture, not just with black culture, but with white culture, Asian culture. I think some movies can dramatize stereotypes, which does make it wrong, in my opinion. Um, but I definitely do believe that there are certain stereotypes that are still being upheld. Um, Probably more with the writing side.
I do believe that these black actors influence stereotypes, like being funny and joking all the time, because it's so stereotyped. Most black actors are usually, like the comedic role. They're supposed to be the funny ones in movies. From what I've seen, for most like black actors, and like only I feel like recently, like 2020 till now, have I seen more, black actors as main characters for horror movies, for example.
In the source Cogent InfoTech, under the section of stereotyping and segregation in storytelling, it explains more about the portrayal of black narratives and experiences within the entertainment industry, where it would quote, confined to race-specific or race-adjacent storylines. Although some stories deserve representation, these types of race-related content limit opportunities for diverse storytelling. It would instead separate talent. Would you say black actors and filmmakers are being recognized, acknowledged, or even rewarded enough for their work and creativity, or not? And how so, or why?
Absolutely. I feel like even nowadays, let's take a look at Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele, he is a fantastic story writer, a fantastic actor. Let's talk about his movie Him that just came out. That was widely praised, or some of his older films, Us, Nope, Get Out. Um, Fantastic movies, and I feel like the praise that they got were just fantastic. Even with actors, Michael B. Jordan, who just starred in Sinners earlier this year, fantastic movie, by the way. I feel like his praise should have been more. I feel like Michael B. Jordan should have got more praise from that movie. But I feel like the praise that they get is well deserved, and more.
I say black actors and filmmakers are being more recognized, acknowledged, and rewarded. Like for example, like Jordan Peele, although he started out doing comedy, Key and Peele. He's been making the horror films, like I said. Those movies are so good, man. You know, and I feel like they definitely weren't awarded enough, or as popularized. And I feel like they should have been more rewarded for these really creative films because they were so unique and insane.
History of studio executives have shown to acknowledge a lot of successful black cast and directed movies, that is in private. In the source titled The Hollywood Jim Crow, Chapter 2 of Labeling Black Unbankable, it addresses how black directed and filmmakers would insist about how companies sometimes wouldn't support them, while others would also mention their perceived wisdom, stating, despite the perceived wisdom that African American films don't travel, a great movie is a great movie. It still brings enlightenment to the creative and passionate work from black directors and actors to become more successful, while industry decision makers wouldn't repeatedly make claims that black movies are simply unbankable. These two individuals do acknowledge about the history of stereotypes and representation towards black actors and filmmakers that they would have to deal with, causing them to feel less creative and that they're not being able to show off their true and more completed talent. That is until now, where things seem better and improving, where black Americans are seeing more acknowledgement for their work and being able to be casted into more roles that normally wouldn't be seen in the past. And with all that said, this was my short documentary about exploring representation and creative control on black artists. Thank you for watching.